Baylor 75, Mississippi State 72. There's a lot to talk about, Dion, with the end of this game in particular that we will get to. Baylor controlled it for most of the way. Mississippi State deserves credit for making it close at the end. What was your biggest takeaway coming from this game? Because sitting here at the Lenovo Center watching it, it was kind of a sleepy game, and then it really peaked at the end where there was a lot of kind of things that happened that left you scratching your head, or at least left me scratching my head.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was like your typical Baylor performance where you see the flashes of why they were so highly ranked preseason, why everyone's so high on them, and why some of us are like, well, they could sneaky cause issues for Duke as a one seed. But then you finish the game seeing exactly why they struggled so much this year at the same time. And it's kind of like the classic Baylor game where they don't really get out of their own way. Very, I wouldn't call it typical Scott Drew teams like that. This is like the anomaly Scott Drew team. But you know they showed some flashes. Valdez Edgecombe Jr. You know he had some
Yeah.
very poppy NBA plays. I'm not gonna say he had
Yeah.
like the greatest performance in the world, but some of the plays he made just popped off the screen. And, you know, it was a very loud 14 points is the best way I would describe it. But he was good. You
He
know,
made a
you
lot
get
of he made a lot of the big plays late, like down the stretch. He had two big threes, hit the free throws down the stretch. Like he was big when Baylor needed a guy to play to be big and meet a big moment.
Norshad Omir was great. Robert Wright the third was great too. I mean, they just didn't really have anything for Josh Hubbard. I'm not sure anyone in the country really has all year for what it's worth. So I don't know if that's like a huge like knock on them. But it was a good Baylor performance, but it also highlights some of the issues that this team has as well.
Yeah, one thing I thought was interesting, Baylor typically has not been a great rebounding team. Norchad Omir gives them a good offensive rebounder, but they've been like an okay rebounding team. But with their lack of height against teams like Mississippi State, they've been vulnerable on the glass. Baylor won this rebounding battle 37-29 and got 16 offensive rebounds in this game. Every time it seemed like Mississippi State was pushing and trying to make a run, they needed to get stops, and they would get a first initial stop, but then Baylor would get a rebound and it would lead to second chance points, and it just kept Mississippi State at bay. Cameron they Cameron Matthews was asked post game about that. He flat out said that they got punked by Baylor. Like, use the word Baylor punked us. They punked us. They were tougher than we were, which you don't hear just admitted that bluntly unless you really did get punked and you're a little
Yeah.
frustrated by it. Like they really got punked because often in the second half, and Baylor only shot 25% from three. They weren't great shooting the ball, but they got a lot of their misses.
Yeah, they were the tougher team, which
Yeah.
I think that's been my frustration with this Baylor group is that's the typical standard for Baylor is they don't make mistakes, they're tough, they're gritty. I'm not sure I really felt that way about this team. Um, I thought Mississippi State was, and that was what was kind of surprising within this game. But again, like
Yeah.
that was just in flashes though. At the same time, where it's like then you also were up 56-47 and completely like pissed your pants.
Yeah. So Josh Hubbard is awesome. Seeing him in person, his ability to create space and create shots, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of anybody else on Mississippi State's team.
I like
It,
Matthews.
it was so obvious that he was all they had.
Yeah.
And then they started ramping up the pressure late in the game when they needed to get things going, and they gave Baylor fits with that. I thought they did pretty well there. But I need to talk about the last play, Dion. Because why is Josh Hubbard not taking that shot?
Yeah, that
Down
was
three with the ball in the closing seconds. He's bringing the ball up the court. Why is he not taking that shot?
I think the problem with it is when you bring the ball up the court, every possession typically has a pass, right? In basketball, like that's
Mm.
pretty standard. Like someone else is going to touch the ball besides the ball handler. Sean Badula just hit a crazy three, and I don't know, like I don't know how much access you have to TVs, but
My Twitter notifications have alerted me that Sean Padula did something.
It was a 2 point game. He just hit a three with 52 seconds left. Like North Carolina came all the way back. But
As UNC,
uh,
this is a UNC game. This is what the UNC does.
very much so. But you typically make a pass. I think the problem with that in college basketball is you don't know if you're going to get the ball back in college basketball, especially when the talent around you is the talent of Mississippi State's talent. So I think the issue was they made him bring the ball up the court. What I love that certain teams do, were did we just discuss Ole Miss, North Carolina? Watch what Sean Padula does when it's go time for him. He might get the ball off the inbound. He immediately gives it to someone else, goes off ball, comes off the screen. The reason you do that is because you're now initiating the offense through him.
Mhm.
And I think part of the issue that happened where he didn't take the shot is he just never got it back.
So the plan was for him to get it back because Christians was asked about this, and they had
Right.
a thing where he'd get it back. He would come back around a double screen, but as soon as he gave it up, the shot went up,
Yeah.
which
And that's
is something we've seen Mississippi State do and different players Mississippi State do in these situations. The one that immediately comes to mind is when they were playing Alabama in Starkville, and Riley Kugel decided that he was the one who was going to win the game, and it didn't work out. The fact that like I think there's something there potentially. Like why are you not giving it to the guy who it's very obvious you look for the other 39 minutes of the game? Like it
right.
was obvious when they were bringing the ball up the court. They were very aware of where Josh Hubbard was until late in the games when everybody wants to be the hero.
When pressure hits, you panic, and that's what I mean. Where it's tough in college basketball. And I'm not trying to slight college basketball players with this comment at all, but the IQ's lower. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was the plan. But you go out there and you fumble the plan a little bit, and then you subsequently he never gets the ball back. That's why I like what Chris Beard does. It's babysitting a little bit, where it's like we know you might mess this plan up, so we're just gonna do it for you to where you can't mess it up. And we'll just set Sean Padula up to come off the double screen in the beginning. That way there's no question of if you're gonna pass it to him or not. And I think that's an important thing that certain coaches do, and that's something Chris Jans will learn, and also these players will learn from it too, and they'll be better by what happened. But it is very unfortunate that Hubbard didn't get to take that shot.
Yeah. Well, let's flip to Baylor because they won the game. They have a Duke game to prepare for, and we'll cover all that in our Duke Baylor preview that's up on the channel. Make sure you go check that out. What did they show you that makes you think they could potentially turn this win into multiple wins? Because there were flashes where they looked like the Baylor team that was top 10 in the preseason before they gave up the big lead down the stretch. Like to me, Edgecombe playing at a high level, particularly late, is a great sign. Robert Wright playing at a really high level is a great sign. Omier the last month or two has been a double machine and a beast that they have needed to be on the glass. What did you see from Baylor that you really liked or maybe gives you some optimism moving forward?
Their athleticism. So I'm not gonna say they're as good as Duke, but they fit the mold very much so, right? Where like I don't think you're going into that game feeling like you're any less athletic, any less of the individual talent as Duke. Are you as deep? Maybe not. Do you have Cooper Flag? Maybe not. But you kind of can go guy for guy with Duke from an athleticism standpoint, which I don't think many teams in the country can. And Baylor is definitely one of like the 4 or 5 that are able to do that.
Yeah, I think so. Shot creation too. I think we saw that. You saw a number of guys hit threes, number of guys make difficult plays, which the best version of Baylor does that. Again, mention the full preview for that game against Duke is up on the channel, so make sure you check that out. An important win for Baylor and Scott Drew's team. We'll see what happens there. Check out that preview, like and subscribe.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.